welcome again to Live on Tape with Pete Tribuco and George Fakowski, as well as producer Haley Taylor Simon. We are just absolutely so happy to be here again on WWDB AM 860 Talk Radio, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station. And I tell you, George, this has been real fun to hang out with you. You know, you got a professor in the room, right?
Easy
so whenever you mess up, okay, he's like the professor from Gilligan's Island, okay? He's going to tell you, well, listen, you shouldn't be doing that, or basically you could have done it this way.
No. Danny, I'm a media guy, and I teach public speaking and media performance. And so when Pete comes out, and we were recording one of the early shows, and he says, "This is our very first inaugural show," I'm like, dude.
I just said 2 in a row.
It's the Department of Redundancy department. Stop
there
it
you
already.
go. And I lost a lot of points. I got a B. I didn't get an A.
Oh, my class.
I
C
forget
plus,
it.
C's get degrees, and you got to stretch it out here, buddy. That's all I'm telling you.
Well, when I went to Kane, I did all those things. My grades weren't the greatest over at that college I went to.
Yeah, they still talk about you in hallowed terms.
I think they actually do. It's really something else. Okay, so I am a big Amazon fan. I love Netflix, especially during COVID. We had nothing to do. We really couldn't do much. So I would put on all the television stations, the radio stations, listen up, and again, I watched a bunch of shows. And I think it was, we have a guest here now who has been on so many productions, whether it was Amazon, Netflix, or whether it was regular television, NBC, ABC, CBS, or wherever, movies and so on. Met some really big people. I tell you, this guy, everywhere I look, I'm sitting there eating my popcorn, and all of a sudden with my wife, and I'm going, oh, God, it's him again. He's coming out of nowhere. He just comes out of nowhere. So with us, we have a really, really incredible guest, and his name is, of course, Danny Doherty, an actor. He's been in so many shows. We'll talk about that. It's just amazing, all the stuff that you do. And you pop up everywhere. Everywhere I go, I see you. So how are you doing, Danny?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And happy Mother's Day to everybody out there.
Well, remember, this is a tape show, so this is probably going to be more like Father's Day. Okay.
Happy Father's Day.
By the time it actually airs. So, but that's okay. We that's why we call it Live on Tape. We don't stop the tape. We keep going, but it's on tape, so we can
see. For people who remember the Uncle Floyd show, it's the same theory. So there you go.
Which is true. Were you ever on the Uncle Floyd show?
My first internship. You see, the show's about me now, Danny. Hang on. My first internship was at a little station in Newark, New Jersey, WWHT, which was Wometco Home Television. It was like cable before cable.
Okay.
And I had, during the day shift, you worked a lot of really boring, like, public affairs shows, 60 plus, urban perspective. I mean, it was just, but I learned how to run a camera and, how to make hand motions at the talent.
Yeah.
And then one night, I got to work on the Uncle Floyd show. And I too, actually, and I can someday we'll tell the stories about who the coolest cast members were and who the biggest jerks were. Floyd was a genius, and let's just say that Scott Gordon is one of my favorite people all time. What can I tell you?
Wow,
there you go.
That's something else.
So
okay,
that's cool, man.
I'm sorry.
I said that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, if you can find, there are a couple of DVDs floating around, and all I can tell you, Danny, is that when they hit play and record, they never stopped, no matter what happened. And the cast would try to throw them off and throw stuff at them and make noises and yell at them, and which actually prepared me for the rest of my life, now that I think about it.
Yeah, listen, those old radio shows, I'm a big fan of those, like the RKO and all those.
Oh yeah, well this was TV. It was bad cable, and it was and it was right in me and Pete's wheelhouse. So it was allegedly a kiddie show.
It was supposed to be,
but it was really geared towards the college. And apparently John Lennon was a fan. David Bowie was a fan.
Really?
Oh yeah.
If you remember Lou Albano, the wrestler, him and
was Cyndi Lauper.
Cyndi Lauper would be on the show. Rick Cerrone, who of course played for the Yankees, he was on the show. It was so bad it was awesome.
It was really bad. It was like totally. And the thing was, it wasn't on normal television, so you had to get your antenna.
UHF.
And you had to hold it a certain way in order to get the signal.
Get channel 50.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Or something.
Yeah, it was out of Newark, New Jersey. But let's talk about you, okay? Let's talk about what you've done, okay?
I want to talk about his breakdancing career.
Yeah, we'll talk about the breakdancing.
All right. Well, actually, that was the first introduction because, like I said, I grew up in Yonkers.
Okay.
And, right on the border of the Bronx, the Woodlawn section.
Sure.
and hip hop and graffiti and breakdancing was very prevalent in my neighborhood. So my friends, we started like a little hip hop group, and we'd go all to the clubs. We breakdance everywhere, to make money. And that was like my first taste of showbiz. I used to do it in school, like at lunch, and like everyone would crowd around me. So that was like my first taste of showbiz, so to say.
Right,
You know what
and
I
I
mean?
bet people made fun of you for a little while, and now look at you and look at them.
Yeah, well, they make fun of me now. They're like, look at you. You're like a soprano. I can't see you spinning on your head. I'm like, I did.
Yeah, no, it's true. That's true. And let's go through some of the things you've done here. Okay,
Yeah.
The Marvelous Miss Maisel, which I love. Dope Girls is coming out. FBI, Black Caesar. You got Crash the System, Invasion, which was pretty cool. New Amsterdam, which I saw. Equalizer. We got FBI Most Wanted. Little Voice, For Life, The Plot Against America, which, by the way, I auditioned for that, and they didn't take me. They didn't take me. Hunters also, that was with Al Pacino. On top of that, Queen Latifah, John Voight, you did something with him. Ralph Macchio and The Karate Kid, The Deuce. Okay, these are just some of the things that you've actually done, and they just keep calling on you, and you pop up. You just all of a sudden, I'm looking at you. That's Danny again. Where's Danny's coming out again? That's pretty amazing stuff, guys. It really is.
I'm very, 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 appreciative. Believe me, it was a rough. It's a rough road, but when you stick to it, things start to happen. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know on Facebook, actually, you were talking about a lot of times you were having issues with getting like housing because you were going places and basically you were here and then there and everything. And there was a lot of issues. And again, when you're a struggling actor in the beginning, it's very tough that you're trying to make ends meet, trying to do all this stuff. But you worked out. I tell you, you must be in with a lot of these directors and producers because they remember you.
Well, see, and that's funny you said that. See, that's the best part of it, as far as being in this business. Because I'll tell you that you brought that up. A funny story about the Plot Against America.
Yeah,
I did the Deuce like the year prior, and the director happened to be on the episode I did of the Plot Against America. I didn't know this to the day of. And as I'm rolling up, I'm like, oh, my God. And she's like, Danny, as soon as I saw your tape, I knew you were the guy. So, so see, and that's, and in my head, I'm like, man, I worked a long time to hear something like that. You know what I mean? Just 5 years ago, I'm doing plays in libraries in front of like people falling asleep. I'm doing short films that go, and now, and flash forward a few years now, I'm on a big huge set in Newark that they turned into like the 1940s with all these old couples.
The Marvelous Miss Maisel, which is really I love that show.
Everybody does. It's such a good show, isn't it?
Oh, it's amazing. And it's funny because the actress that plays the lead is not a comedian, yet she can do this. I mean, she's got really, really good timing.
She's got some chops. She's a great actress. And let me tell you something. She is salt of the earth. It's so funny because the first day I was there for a week, so the first couple of days I really didn't see her because she was doing that scene in the subway, which by the way was an abandoned I guess you call it, subway line that's no longer in use.
Yes, sure.
The MTA or the mayor's office, whatever, gave them permission to film down there. And they rolled in the old, 1960s train. So she was kind of doing her thing with Milo, and I was like doing my thing inside the train. So I really didn't get to talk to her that much. But when I finally did, when we were up on the street, it's funny. My mom called me the night before, and she goes, that show you're gonna be on, the girl, she was on The Price Is Right. I just watched her. And I brought that up to her. I said, and my mom called me and said she saw it. She goes, "Oh my God, isn't that the best show ever?" She's so nice, and we had the best time. Milo, can't say nothing. So much. He is the kindest, most talented guy. We had so many laughs, and I had the best time. It was great. Great,
hey, Danny,
great.
I think IMDb is such a great resource, for finding out little tidbits and stuff. So I was going over this earlier when I heard you were coming on, and I'm reading this one entry, which is so awesome. because
Yeah.
I've always wanted to portray an ominous shadowed villain in a 2017 Gotham Ford commercial. How does it feel to be an ominous shadowed villain? What's that all about?
Well, I'll tell you what that's about. I'll tell you exactly what that's about. I was on Gotham back in 2014 as a part of the Maroney crew,
Right.
Sal Maroni. Actually, when Penguin started working at Maroney's restaurant. Yeah,
That was a
nice
great
guy,
impression.
too, by the way.
Oh, see, I'm an Adam West, Burt Ward Batman
Me
guy.
too. Big time.
Big time.
That and Michael Keaton. That's it. So, I was a part of the Maroney crew. I did that show, and then a couple years later, I got a call. They said, "Look, they want you to come down." They were doing like a Ford Gotham TV promo, like kind of like it was a television commercial, but it was kind of like Ford cars were worked into the Gotham,
Right.
universe type thing. So I played a
Ominous
one of-
shadowed villain. It says so right here.
I was the guy in the freaking in the dark room, and they were interviewing me. And I forgot what I said. I said I couldn't understand what
Well,
he was
I
saying.
can tell you though, Ford apparently gets all the gigs because RoboCop drove a Taurus, and we can't forget that. So.
So that's how that came to be. So that was a cool because we got to film that in Steiner Studios out in Brooklyn, which is my favorite studio.
I've been there. I've actually been there. It's a pretty cool. I wasn't supposed to be there. I'll tell that story in a second. I was not supposed to be there, but I ended up getting there anyway. Haley had a question.
Yes. So
Yeah,
doing
sure.
my homework, IMDb,
Yeah.
there's a couple quotes that you had out, and I wanted to talk to you about them. So
Yeah,
so one quote that you had is, "Nothing is out of reach. It all depends on how bad you really want it." So I know
Yeah.
you talked about, getting into this industry. Coming up with quotes like that, I see these as very deep and very inspirational kind of quotes in a sense. Can you give us a
Yeah.
little backstory about, what does that quote mean to you now that you've made it, now that you've been on
I'll
some
tell you
great
exactly what it
shows?
means. Like I said, coming from Yonkers, not really having a formal, repertoire education in theater or acting. Like I come from a blue collar background. I always had to work. So I did take some acting classes at night. So I just, figured out my own way into the business. I started out as an extra to get my SAG card. And, along the way, like I said, I was doing like theater. I wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't making any money. And, people were like, come on, why are you wasting your time? You're talented, but, that's for rich people. That's for, Al Pacino's cousin. That's the only way you get in there. I was like, no, that's not. I'm telling you, I'm going to show you. And it's really just it's just a matter of how much bull crap you could stomach on your way to trying to get to what you want. And if you take 1 inch of progress, that's a million miles, and you'll get more and more. And if you just stay persistent and how bad you really want it, like I really want to do this, and I don't care what this guy's saying, I don't care what that guy's saying, I don't care what story you're telling me, I know I can do this, and I'm going to get punched and kicked along the way, but I'm going to prove it.
This is like listening to my story with a Yonkers accent. I just
This
wanna
is
make that
good.
point.
This is good. We are talking with actor Danny Doherty, and we'll be back with him right after this. Each year, 5,000 people, including children, choke to death. LifeVac can stop these senseless tragedies. It's so easy to use also. Simply place the mask over face, push, and pull. You'll never regret having a LifeVac in your home or office. Please visit lifevac.net today to protect you and your loved ones. Or you can call them at 877-LIFEVAC. That's 877-LifeVac.
Alana was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and it's cancer. As a parent, when you're told this type of news, you're going to do whatever you can do for your babies. When we got to St. Jude is when I realized that, no, you're not going to get a bill for anything. I don't have to worry about it. They're saying we're going to help save her. We're not going to charge you anything. This is what we do.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
And welcome back to Live on Tape with Pete Tribuco and a whole crew over here. We really love it on WWDB AM 860 Talk Radio Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station, and we've got one heck of a guy with us, actor Danny Doherty. And I tell you, Danny, every time I see you, man, I'm like, I drop popcorn. The dog gets all that stuff because it goes all over the place because you scare the heck out of me. You come out of nowhere. You don't even tell me you're doing this stuff. So it's.
That's me. I'm a secretive kind of guy. I don't like telling you.
It's true.
He's ominous and he's in the shadows. We know that.
That's right. See, I'm the ominous shadow guy. That's me.
That's it.
I also love the accent, by the way. Being a Philadelphia native, this is like music to my ears. I don't know about you guys.
It's the real thing. It's not people faking it.
Yeah, that's like me. Yeah, he's talking about me now. Yes.
Well, see, when you try to do the accent and you already have it from the region, then it just sounds silly. It's like when people say Jersey.
Yeah.
It's not Jersey. It's Jersey. And don't try to say it. You're going to hurt yourself.
Yes, Professor.
But I'm telling you. So, Danny, I wanted to just add to that quote that we brought up here about making the dream a reality and don't say no. It was my story. I was literally like a behind the scenes intern, then associate producer, feature producer. It's one of the deep dark secrets of my career is that I grew up a Yankee fan in Jersey and then wound up working for the Red Sox network for 10 years. Ooh. And it was like being a missionary. It was awesome. I loved it. And if you haven't been to Fenway Park, go. But I was never going to get on the air. I would do the interviews. I would write the story. I would edit the story, and I would hand you the script. And the boss would come down and go, "Hey, Danny, nice story. Here's 3 times more money than George gets." And it took me 13 years to get on the air.
Well,
you're the story, except you've done a little bit better than I have. So it's okay.
I'm still working at it. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still, looking for that. I've come close to some really, really big parts.
It's coming.
That like the big time. And I've come close. I'm not going to take it. I almost got something with Mark Wahlberg. That was a tough one. But that's the name of the game. It's you just got to brush it off and keep moving. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, if you're not in the game, you're never going to get chosen, and that's why you keep at it. And that's what I tell my students too, is that 99 people are going to tell you no, and you have to wait for the 100th person that comes along and says yes, and
exactly.
Then all things are possible.
Well, you hear one yes.
Yeah, it's amazing how this. And you need people around you, whether it's loved ones or people you hang with, that support what you're doing. Because any kind of performance, whether it's acting, television, radio, you name it, the hours aren't normal, the life isn't normal, and if you don't have people that can back you up and support you when you're doing this stuff, you're never going to make it.
No, it's a lot of sacrifice. A lot, I've given up a lot. I used to work I was working in a pizzeria in the Bronx at nighttime because I needed my days open, to audition and everything. And
sure.
I'd be in the meat locker with like my sides going over, and everyone would be like, "What are you doing back there? You sound like you're a crazy person." Like I'm acting out the scenes in the meat locker. You know what I mean?
It sounds like you're in Rocky 12 or whatever. Basically.
I could do it. I would have to work. I was working from like 5 to 11 at night. So, and I had something to do the next day at 9 o'clock. So it was, I had to do it. You know what I mean?
Danny's my long lost brother. I actually, I went for a master's degree. That's how I got to Boston in the first place. And I would literally study for the comprehensive exams between periods of Bruins games in the studio at Boston Garden.
Oh, the Bruins.
Oh,
man.
You don't talk about the Bruins.
You're in Philadelphia here. I mean,
okay.
You're putting your life in danger. In fact, Haley's actually got a jersey on right now.
Well, Haley and I have already spoken about it, and
some differences.
And I have established my Philly credentials with the audience because my dad was a Tasty Cake guy for 35 years, and so I'm good. And I go to Phillies games. I go to Bull's Barbecue, hang with Lazinski, Polish Power. We're good.
Yeah. I got a funny story about Philadelphia. The first film that I did. That I just earned my SAG card, and then I was like, okay, now I need to get an agent. I need to get real footage. I was doing all these short films. I get them back. They look terrible. I was like, I ain't nobody gonna hire me with and no agent gonna say, oh, you're a good actor with this. It looked like it was garbage. So the first real thing that I got was this kid Kyle Thompson. He was from down. He went to Drexel. Is that
Yep.
Drexel?
Yes, Drexel's right around here.
Yeah, and he was a film student there, and this was his first indie film, so I didn't get paid anything. But I wasn't doing it for that. My goal was I needed real footage. That was my payment. You know what I mean? I knew he was shooting on real cameras. He had the lights, he had the guys. So that was like my first thing, and I had a starring role in it. So we did it, and we went down there to celebrate, I guess. So I was wearing my Yankees hat, and we're down in Philadelphia.
Oh, that's
boy.
not smart. That's not.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
I didn't know. So we're in a bar, we're drinking, and the bartender keeps giving me the hairy eyeball, and I'm you know, I'm tipping him, I'm giving him 10s, I'm giving him 20s. So I walk up to the guy, I said, what's this guy's problem? He keeps getting stabbed, and Kyle, he looks at, he's like, dude, you're wearing a Yankees hat. That's why.
You're lucky he served you at that point.
They're still mad about the '09 World Series down here. So you
Do
know.
we have to talk about that?
Well, yeah, that's why they brought me in. Just to
Down there, I have a good time wearing my Yankees hat. I'm giving this guy, and I'm like, what's this guy's problem? And he's like, dude, you're wearing a Yankees hat. That's the problem.
Well, it could have been worse. It could have actually been a Cowboys outfit, and that's the worst. You don't want to ever go to Lincoln Financial with a Cowboys jersey on. You will not survive.
or Giants.
Or Giants.
The Cowboys, though, then you're asking for it. That's when you know, hey, there's a bit of a problem going on.
Oh, yeah. Trust
The
me.
Giants aren't good enough for us to care, so.
Yeah, until they start beating you again, then you'll care again.
You know what? We'll talk during football season.
It'll come around. I'll be waiting for you. Christmas Day, baby. They're
Week
playing on
16?
Christmas Day. You
Yep.
see that?
Week
So there you go.
16.
Oh, my goodness.
Danny, we got to team up down here and
Danny-
just take these people on.
Danny, come on. Hey, this is Danny's day. Okay,
is.
we're talking about Danny. Now, I know Haley had a question. You had a question. You've been waiting very patiently. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, Danny, you were talking about, this is the name of the game. Sometimes you get gigs, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
But on those days when you don't, what inspires you and motivates you to continue? I mean, I feel like this is a type of industry that can be really defeating, and you have such a positive attitude from just, talking to you now. So is there something that just keeps you going?
Yes, it does. I watch Columbo, all my favorite shows. I got all my
Peter Falk.
One thing bothers me.
my all-time hero. He's my favorite actor, and Columbo is my favorite all-time TV show.
Are you a fan of the In-Laws?
And I'll tell you, yeah, The In-Laws, the best. That is one of the best movies ever. And I'll tell you, I was
That's
on
funny.
set with I'll get back to your question. I'm just gonna do
Sorry about that.
Hey, take your time.
Giant tsetse flies with beaks, ladies and gentlemen.
I did a big part on Ray Donovan. So I became friends with John Voight, with whom I
Wow.
still talk to. And so we're sitting in the makeup chair, and the music is on. And he's such he loves being an actor. He just knows how lucky he is, and he's so grateful. And he's sitting there, and he looks at me. He's like, "So where did you train?" He's like, "Because you're so talented." And I looked. I said, "Train? I watched Columbo. That was my." And
One
he goes,
thing
he looked
bothers me.
like it was like a split second of silence, and he goes, "I love that." And then he goes, "Peter Falk was my best friend." I'm like, "Oh, tell me, right?" And John Cassavetes, by the way, which is another one of my favorite actors
Wow.
and directors. So he was talking about that. So speaking about back to the original question, it's just stuff like that. I'll watch my favorite show, or I'll just think about, I always joke. I say I need my fix. Like an audition is a fix. Even if like Al Pacino says, an audition is a chance to perform. Like, you know what I mean? So if I don't have an audition for sometimes I'll have 5 auditions in a week. Sometimes I'll have 2 a month. There's no set structure. So, I'm like, I need a fix. I need to get an audition. That will make me happy. Or I'll just think about sitting in the makeup chair with John Boyd. I'll think about where I was 15 years ago, working in a pizzeria, saying, what the hell am I doing? I don't even have 2, sticks to rub together here.
Uh-huh.
And I said, you just did Marvelous Miss Maisel. So that makes me happy. And I just focus. I live in my own world, my own head.
Well, Danny, it's so glad that everybody's bringing these topics up today because now the downside of any TV career is teaching in college, which is what I'm doing much more of these days. But
I got a lot of friends who are actors that teach.
I love it. And the thing is that you're seeing yourself 30, 40 years ago in the eyes of some of these students. And I explained to them that I actually failed my major my first semester in college. I did. I failed basic drawing, which is still a miracle to this day that it happened. And yet I somehow graduated with honors and went on to a pretty successful TV and sports career, which I'm still kind of hanging on a little bit. But the question I would have for you is if you get people listening who know you and have seen your work and now are hearing your story, What do you tell the young person coming up that is struggling and being told no and you're not good enough and you talk funny or you look funny or you're just not right, and yet you persevered and you become a shining light to the next generation of kids coming up that want to do what you did and what you're doing?
I've told a lot of kids this, and it really doesn't matter what you want to do in life. I mean, it doesn't have to be particularly in show business. No matter what you want to do in life, you know what I mean? There is only one way to go about it. If you really want it and you really stick to it, like we said before, you're going to hear a lot of negativity, a lot of no's, but there is no like magic set answer for it. You just have to go for it. And if you trip and you fall, you get back up and you keep going. And I'm telling you, eventually, if you could, it really matters how many times you could get punched in the gut and get back up.
That sounds like a Rocky quote, I think, from one of his movies. How many times you get hit?
That was the Rocky Balboa movie.
That was definitely the Rocky Balboa movie.
Get back up.
But what you're saying is absolutely true. And that's the most important thing is you keep trying. Like George tried, he eventually made it, and he did quite well. And that's pretty much what you want to tell kids, because the problem with the children for today, okay, and not counting Haley, she's not like that, okay.
Thank
but
you.
the problem with children today is sometimes they give up too quickly. They try something, it's too hard, and they just move on. And then they think about it later and say, maybe if I tried a little bit harder, maybe I could do it. And that was one of the things that I grew up was that, if someone, like I did a lot of musicals off Broadway, okay? I didn't have a voice. When I was at Kane College, okay, which is the college that both George and I went, I auditioned with Jim Murphy. Jim Murphy was like the biggest guy there. And Jim, and I did cabaret, and unfortunately Jim Murphy basically said to me, Pete, you cannot sing. Do not sing. I want you to mouth the words. I want you to lip sync the songs. From cabaret, because you were doing that, right? And I, instead of taking that and just saying I can't do that, I learned to sing. I've done Mamma Mia three times off Broadway. I've done all these different theater venues, and some of them right in New York City, and others all over regional stuff. And I tell you, it was because I said to myself, okay, I can't do it now, but I want to do it. I'm not going to give up, like you. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep trying. And that's the message that we want to give people, is that when that happens, when the going gets tough, what do they say? The tough gets going, but you keep moving forward.
You are the cliche factory.
I am the cliche factory. So
it sounds cliche, but it's really true. And,
it is true, and that's why they're cliches, because they're.
I'm living proof of it, and it's also the thing know thyself. You know what I mean? And what I mean when I say that is like I said, the moment I knew I wanted to be an actor, my father he passed away. He was very sick. It was a long illness. It was like a 2-year illness. And my girlfriend at the time, she's like, you got to get out of the house. Let's go to the movies. We went to go see Forrest Gump. Okay. And I don't know, I thought about being an actor, but I when I came out of that movie, I looked at it and I said, I'm going to be an actor. That's how much that movie inspired me.
Wow.
I was like, I'm doing it. And, roadblocks later, I went a little crazy after he passed away, but who could blame me? And then I kind of started focusing. I started taking, night classes, and then I started doing extra work, and like I said, one thing will lead to another thing. Every little step leads to another step, and here I am.
That's good. That's well, we are talking with actor and just an incredible person, Danny Doherty. He's been in so many. Trust me, folks, he's been in so many shows. You're going to remember his name after this is done. We'll be back with Danny right after this. Each year, 5,000 people, including children, choke to death. LifeVac can stop these senseless tragedies. It's so easy to use also. Simply place the mask over the face, push and pull. You'll never regret having a LifeVac in your home or office. Please visit lifevac.net today to protect you and your loved ones. Or you can call them at 877-LIFEVAC. That's 877-LifeVac.
Vision loss is not something that you feel until it happens.
Most people lose their vision from diseases like macular degeneration and glaucoma, not at birth.
3 million Americans have glaucoma, and half don't even know it.
11 million people in the United States have macular degeneration.
So many eye disorders can be treated if caught early.
Make a plan today to get your eyes checked.
Visit brightfocus.org to learn more.
And we are back to Live on Tape with Pete Tribuco and George Falkowski
There you
and
go.
producer Haley Taylor Simon over here at WWDB AM 860 Talk Radio Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station. We are talking with an actor that basically you might have seen on The Marvelous Miss Maisel, or maybe FBI, or maybe Invasion or Equalizer. I could just go on and on. Danny's on the line with us, and I tell you, we've got so many questions, and at this point, I'd like to give it to George because he's got a good one.
Oh, I actually have two, and the one I want to save for later is that you got to let people know the secrets of a great New York pizza. That's for later.
This is true.
The big one is, and I know I've been there. I'm sure Pete's been there. We're all going to be there at some point when we choose performing in, whether it's TV news, acting, sports, whatever the deal is. There's always a crossroads you hear about. What was the crossroads where you thought about giving it up, like even for just a half second, and how did you overcome it?
All right. Well, I'll be honest with you. I never really thought about giving it up, but I did have moments of saying, what the hell?
What am I doing, right?
Yeah, like, what's going on here? Like, because there was no progress. But I don't know. I can't give you a specific answer. It's just something in me. I just always knew this was going to happen. And I just said, I just got to keep going. Even though I was depressed because I wasn't making any money. I'm working at a pizzeria. All my friends are going on vacation and getting married and buying houses. And I'm, you know what I mean? And I was, but I was like, because, I had regular jobs. I used to be a carpenter's apprentice for 8 years. So I still know how to sheet rock, roofing. I used to be a cable. I was working in cable I actually got fired from that job because I got a part in an indie film, which I thought was going to make me, but it didn't go anywhere.
Oh, I thought you were giving customers free HBO.
I was, believe me. Believe me when I tell you that was my side gig. They're like, could you get $50?
There you go.
There you go. $50, man. $50. We'll give you
$50. I'll push the button. We're good.
There you go. There you go. And Haley's laughing over here.
That was funny.
Yeah, I did. I did an indie film back in 2007 with Peter Green. He was a good friend of mine. He was in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. Okay.
He was in, he played the bad guy in The Mask. A couple guys in The Sopranos. Arthur Nascarella. He's a real good friend of mine. He played Carmine in The Sopranos. So I did that, and I got fired from cable because I was supposed to only be 2 weeks. It wound up being a month. Nothing ever really materialized at the movie, so then I started working. But in the pizzeria, and then, you have those moments of and plus I had a couple other actor friends. I'm not going to mention their names that were well more advanced than me. And I was like, well, I could do what they're doing. What's going on here? So I had moments of that. It was like moments of depression because it's like you want something and it's not there. You could do it. But I never ever said I'm giving this up. I was like, I'm all in. I use the analogy. I swam so far out into the ocean. It's more better for me just to keep going than to turn back.
Get to the other side. Point of no return. Exactly. There you go.
Exactly.
It sounds good. Now listen, I always ask this question for people that are dealing with, I know that you've dealt with so many people.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the most famous or favorite person that that you really loved, and you're like, this guy is this gal is so big, yet they're just so nice. Now, for me, it was Sigourney Weaver. I met her. I did some stuff with her. She was amazing. But who would it be for you?
I was actually in something with Sigourney. I was when I was in the Defenders, the Marvel show.
Yes, I remember that.
For me, it's hands down John Boyd. Hands down.
Wow, nice.
Down. He just blew my mind. We became friends. He did like a video for my mother. I don't know if you ever seen that, Peter, on my Facebook. I posted a few times. He's like Nancy. That's my mom saying, Nancy, your son is so talented, and it's because he did like this video for her. You know what I mean? And
I think I saw it on your Facebook page. Yeah.
Yeah. And it hands down, it's John Boyd. But I got to tell you, there's all of them. When I did Blue Bloods, I had a scene with Donnie Wahlberg, and I remember him because at the time, in 1991, my girlfriend at the time, she was a big New Kids on the Block fan, and his posters were everywhere.
Okay.
Like they were like giant, I don't even know where she found these things. It was so big. You know what I mean? So he was always staring at me in a room. So I said, Donnie, you know, when I was 18 years old, I had to look at your mug constantly. And my girlfriend, he goes, you ain't the only one. You know? So yeah, all of them. I mean, Queen Latifah, she was amazing.
What was she like? She's a great singer.
Oh, she's actually the cousin of the guy I played Little League with, who I worked with in real estate, Bill Flagg. So yeah, we've got I haven't met her yet, but I've seen her. She's always around. So
yeah, she's got the Equalizer thing going now at this point,
very
right?
cool.
Amazing. Yeah, the Equalizer. I did that scene where I played Rodney Thompson, where I played the informant, and she's looking for me the whole episode, and then she finds me and she ties me up, puts my feet in a boiling pot of water to get information.
Snitches get stitches, baby. There you go.
Yeah. Oh, and in between takes, we were just talking, and I said, Queen, I remember you the first time because like I said, I used to be a DJ, so around New York. So
I saw that. Yeah.
She was a hip hop artist, so I used to have all her records. I used to play them at parties and at clubs and stuff. And when she started to dabble into acting, she might have been in something before this, but the first thing I really remember her in, and I told her about this because it was one of my favorite movies at the time, was Juice with Tupac.
That's right. I remember that.
She had a part there. She played the MC of the club, and I said, I remember. And she goes, oh my God, that was so long ago. But yeah, she was the best. And I'll tell you, who was really, another. Like I was talking to him and telling him, oh my God, it was Ice-T when I did that movie with him down in Philadelphia called Blood Runners. That took place in the 30s.
Yeah.
We played vampire gangsters instead of running.
Nice.
Instead of running alcohol, we ran blood. That was our thing. Because there was like a network of vampires all through America, like secretly, and we ran them blood. It was kind of like what's the name of that movie with
Twilight?
Blade, yeah.
Blade.
Blade. Oh, okay, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like. And Ice-T he ties me up. I'm always getting tied up, by the way, and he ties me up and he cuts my finger off.
Out of context.
Yeah, and so I was just telling him, I said, Ice, man, I was like, I used to breakdance back in the day, and I remember the first time I ever saw you were in that movie Breaking'. I don't know if you remember that?
Yeah,
I remember. I don't know why I remember the sequel because the name was so
into Electric
Boogaloo, and it's wow, how like 1990 is that? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's just basically, you know what it is? I'm a fan first. All these people are the reason why I'm doing this anyway, because I was into sports and everything, but my real thing was like movies. Like I loved the Dukes of Hazzard and Columbo and Kojak and this, that, and the other thing, and Jaws and all these things. Like I would study these things. I'd be mesmerized. That was like kind of like my thing.
Yeah.
So all these people I grew up watching, and like I said, even like with the Donnie Wahlberg thing. So I'm a fan first. So the first thing I always say when I see it, like I'll tell you the story about Al Pacino. I was working with him for months. Actually, I had a couple of scenes that got cut. I had a really bigger part. They trimmed it down a lot. That happens, but at least I was there. But the first day, I actually auditioned for a different part, and my agent got back to me and said, listen, they don't like you. They don't think you're right for that part, but the director wants you for another part. You don't even have to audition for it. It's a smaller part, but he'll give it to you. Do you want it? I was like, hell yeah. Now, I didn't know Al Pacino was even attached to this thing at this time. So the day before I get the call sheet, and I'm looking at it, and I'm looking, and because I knew my character's name was Myers Driver. That was my thing. So I didn't know who this Meyer guy was. So I see on the call sheet, it doesn't say Meyer. It just says Al Pacino. And I'm like, what? Al Pacino was in this? So I'm not putting two together. So I get to set. I think we filmed in Brooklyn. And they drove us other set. And the director goes like, hey, Danny, I knew you were the guy for this role and whatever. So I'm like talking to him, making small talk, And then I see like this umbrella walking over, like a guy standing like with this other tall 7-foot guy holding the umbrella, and he's surrounded by like all these bodyguards. And I'm looking, and I'm like, who's that? And then I see him, I'm like, oh my God, that's Al Pacino. He's coming over here. You know what I mean? So he gets up to the director, and he's like, Al, this is Danny. He's playing your main guy. And then it hits me, oh my God, he's Meyer. You know? You know
He's
what I mean?
Meyer. Well, this is Hunters, right? This is that
Hunters,
the
it's
Amazon. Yeah, I've watched that. Yes, I did. Yeah, and you popped up
Like
again
that-
too. Yes, I saw that too as well.
They chopped it all down, but at least I was with him for a month, and we had a lot of great conversations.
And at
really
least they
nice-
paid you for a month, which is good.
That's important.
And you know, I told him, I said, everybody likes Scarface, and God, I was like, kill all that. I was like, your best movie, as far as I'm concerned, is Serpico.
That was a good one. That was a
Scent
good
of a
one.
woman all day.
Oh yes. Now also Ralph Macchio,
good.
Ralph Macchio and the Karate Kid. Okay, my wife loves that show.
That was just on the other night on one of my DirecTV channels.
Yeah. So how's Ralph? How's Ralph doing these days?
Ralph is amazing. I was sitting down on the high chairs, you know, in between setups. Setups is when they're changing the cameras around.
Sure.
And you know, was just sitting there talking, and I just said, Ralph, I said, you know, I got to tell you something, man. I said, you know, back in my neighborhood, Karate Kid was pretty big. And he laughed, you know. And like I said, it's just little things like that. I'm a fan first. So the first thing I say to myself is, I can't believe I'm sitting next to, like, you have a moment of clarity.
Yeah.
I'm sitting next to the Karate Kid. And
Yeah,
not only
Ralph isn't faking the accent either.
No.
Yeah, no.
You're
And
not going to
not
let me live that one down,
No,
are
I'm
you
not.
now?
You drag me in here, you got to deal with it.
Okay.
Yeah. And not only am I sitting there, this guy, I'm about to do something with him that he inspired me to do in the first place. How is that not the coolest thing ever?
Well, what did he
know?
inspire you to do? Was it wax on, wax off? What was it?
Exactly, he did. I did Daniel's up. Get his butt kicked every day, and getting back up and keeping at it.
That's it.
You know.
Yeah.
So it's just things like that. You know, it's just like you have. I'm a fan first, and it's just like I for a second I'm like, I can't believe I get paid. Not only I can't believe I'm here, I can't believe they're paying me for this.
Well, Danny,
Yeah,
I'm going to
this
give
is
you a
fun.
line. I don't know if you've used this before. It would be sort of a spin on what I've done. You know,
Yeah.
when you work in sports, you know, and then people find out, they always say things like, "Oh, you live in the dream," and I'm like, "Yeah, nights, weekends, holidays, missed birthdays were cool." But they'll always say things like, "You get to go to the games for free," and I say,
Yeah.
"No, they pay me," and then they really
Yeah.
get upset. So that's what you're doing, man. No, they pay you. It's even better.
Well, you've actually covered what, 3 Stanley Cups, right?
8.
8 Stanley Cups.
2
My
NBA
goodness.
Finals, 1 World Series. Never got to the Super Bowl.
Oh my God, my best friend Vinny would love you. He's a diehard Rangers fan. I mean, he knows.
Oh, I love to
every-
talk to Vinny,
Oh,
especially
man.
since I just watched the Devils knock him out in 7. So we can talk anytime.
Oh, don't go there. Don't go there.
He is a diehard hockey. Not just he's a Rangers fan, but he's also like a diehard hockey fan. Like
Cool.
he
Well,
knows
you-
everything.
You tell
Not everything.
Vinny that the hockey maven himself, Stan Fischler, gave me the start of my career, and we are still friends to this day.
I'm gonna when he listens to this, he's gonna be frothing at the mouth.
Set us up. We'll meet him at a game. We'll do it.
All right. Sounds good.
And you got to go too. I'll get you behind the scenes with MSG and those guys. It's awesome.
Which is good because he never offered that to me.
Well, you're not
Man,
a hockey guy.
I like hockey.
Well, did you play on a college
No,
hockey team?
no, but I can skate backwards, not on purpose, accidentally. I can skate backwards. I can do it.
Danny,
I
we'll
can
hook
do
it up next season.
All right. Sounds good. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We get to get out of the production truck. We get to hang out with Bill Spalding and Ken Danico. Sorry, Flyer fans, but that's where I worked. So there you go.
Flyers fans. Oh my gosh.
I mean, I can't. I love them, but
Try covering the team and then tell me it's not painful. It's
well, I go to a lot of Lehigh Valley Phantoms games, and that's the trip. That's the high farm team, so that's cool. Right now in town. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
they made the playoffs, so that's good.
They did.
But Danny, I have a question for you.
Is
a
it about
fun
hockey or
question.
pizza?
We're not going to be talking hockey because we don't agree on hockey.
Pizza? No.
It's
a
not
hockey question.
pizza.
I'm not gonna
It is about acting. If you,
that I know a little something, not
a
too
little
much, though.
something. Yeah, it's not like you've been in SVU, Orange is the New Black, all of these big shows.
Oh, Orange is the New Black. I forgot about that.
Yep,
Yeah.
you were in that too. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
every single show I feel like I watch, I see you in, and I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
that's Danny. So you were talking about people that you've met while acting. Is there any
Mm-hmm.
actor or actress that you want to work with that you're a big fan of, like your dream gig?
Yes, I want to do something with Robert De Niro. I would love.
Oh,
to
I
do
would
that.
love that.
I'd love to do Dustin Hoffman, and I would actually like. It's funny you brought this up because I was talking to one of my actor friends, and he said he could still do it. Gene Hackman. He's a little older now, but they just saw that picture of him. If they wrote a script, that was suited to his age. Maybe he played a grandfather, like a whatever it is. I don't know. That would be awesome. I think he's got one more in him. He could do one more. That'd be awesome.
Well, Danny, do you know who I want to work with? You know who I want to work most? You, exactly. I want to work with you on the Marvelous Miss Maisel. Yeah, get me. I know it's the shooting is done, but man, I would have liked to have gotten on that show. So that's pretty cool.
Listen, like I was saying to you, back in the day, 20 years ago when, the TV was different, we didn't have all streaming, it was, you had cable and you still had the network. You had the big shows that everybody knew, like Seinfeld, Friends, Frasier, those type of, The Sopranos, those type of things. Today, Marvel, and even though that, Marvelous Miss Maisel is on a streaming service on Amazon, it still has that punch, that power. Everybody watches the Marvelous Miss Maisel. Everybody, Yeah. It's just one of those shows.
But here's something you probably didn't know. Okay, the leads in that show have less experience in television or in acting than you have, okay? Prior to this, they did very little film stuff. Yeah. Okay, so this is like their first really big gig, okay?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for that, too. I'm waiting for that crossover, that one where I'm the lead.
Well, you're the lead, yes.
The Danny Show.
The Danny Show.
Exactly.
Hey, there we go. We got a show. We're going to call it the Danny Show. Danny's going to go around and basically get tied up by all these actors that are going to tie you up and put you.
What? That'd be a fun reality show.
Yeah,
like
I think so.
Or a little game show going on, the Danny Show, and it's if you get a question wrong, then you get tied up by a random actor.
There you go. There you go. Sounds good.
I would love to actually see a documentary of Danny's everyday life.
Yeah.
I got I'm looking at my IMDb. I got another funny story if you'd like to hear.
Sure, we got 2 minutes before breaks. Go ahead.
All right, so I did this show during the pandemic. It's called Crash the System. It's available now. It's a series. I actually have a big part in it. I'm on 3 episodes. They're actually filming season 2 right now as we speak. It's on Amazon and it's on Tubi. The director and the writer is. Do you guys remember the comedy duo, the Jerky Boys? They were very big in the 90s.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Kamal Ahmad, he's the writer-director. He's the Indian gent part of the Jerky Boys. The other guy went on to do the voice for Family Guy and all that. They separated in the 2000s, and Kamal wanted to do something different. I guess he just felt, he took the Jerky Boys thing as far as, they won a Grammy, they were on MTV, I guess he just thought he took it as far as it could go. So he wanted to start writing and directing his own films, which he has been doing since then, and he's gotten a lot of indie work that's gotten some good praise by Scorsese. So this was his first TV series, and he contacted me. I was friends with him on Facebook, and he contacted me. He's like, "Look, I got this part for you." At first he offered me a smaller part, so he's like, "Could you just put it on tape? I just want to see it." So I did that, and he goes, "That was great." He's like, "Perfect." He's like, "I'll give it to you." And then, I don't know, a couple days later, whatever it was, he called. He's like, "You know what? I was thinking about it. I want you to play a different part. It's a bigger part, but I think you're right for it." So I went and I did it. We filmed it in what the hell did we film that in Queens and everything? And I got to tell you, it is getting. If you read the fan comments on this, it's getting 9s and 10s. People are going nuts over this.
Well, we'll talk more about it right after the break. Let's leave it at that right now, and we'll talk right about when we get back. So we are with, of course, actor Danny Doherty, and we'll be back with Live on Tape right after this. Each year, 5,000 people, including children, choke to death. LifeVac can stop these senseless tragedies. It's so easy to use also. Simply place the mask over face, push, and pull. You'll never regret having a LifeVac in your home or office. Please visit lifevac.net today to protect you and your loved ones. Or you can call them at 877-LIFEVAC. That's Life Back.
Joe Buck and John Smoltz welcoming you back to the City Center Convenience Mart.
Heather's moment has arrived, and you just hope all that training pays off.
Heather lays down her purchase, but Randy rings it up as slowly as he can.
Uh-oh.
Yep, she's looking at the cigarettes.
There's nothing good back there.
Heather's arm is in motion, but she just grabs the gum off the counter.
That's a slick move.
Even Randy tips his cap to Heather. Stand Up to Cancer and Rally wants you to reduce your risk for cancer.
Go to takeahealthystand.org.
And welcome back to Live on Tape. And we're with, of course, actor Danny Doherty. Some good stories. In fact, we were kind of in the middle of that one story. So let's finish that up because I want to hear how it ends.
Well, they crashed the system. I told you it's available on Amazon and Prime. Kamal Ahmad, former Jerky Boy. He had that movie which was very funny in the late 90s, the Jerky Boys. We filmed it and it went amazing. We filmed it all in Queens, and then he put it all together and released it on Tubi first, I think, then Amazon, and people are really going nuts over this. It's hitting a chord with people with everything that's going on in the world today. And if you haven't watched it, please do, because I tell people to have it, and they call me like why isn't this like on like NBC or something or HBO? You know what I mean? That's how good it is. And that's it. That's basically the whole story.
Well, that's a pretty good story. Now, you mentioned a lot that you do a lot of filming in the Queens and Brooklyn area. Yeah. Now, what studios are those again?
There's Silver Cup. There's Kaufman Astoria. There's Steiner.
Kaufman.
By the way, I love them all, but Steiner just reminds me of, like you said, you were there. It just reminds me of like a studio, like an old school Hollywood studio out in like Burbank. It's like the sound stages are humongous. Kaufman Astoria, that's where Orange is the New Black filmed out of. That was their head. They're all. I mean, and then they got smaller little independent studios that like I did New Amsterdam. They got like little independent studios that they rent out, but the big ones is Silver Cup. They got I actually did a TV series with Tony Danza called The Good Cop. They totally cut me out of it, but I was there for a while. They cut the character. That was at Silver Cup 2. That's in the Bronx. But my favorite one is definitely Steiner. I've been there a lot, and like I said, it just reminds me of a big studio in like Burbank.
Well, you know what's happening now? We're getting studios, actually. Amazon's coming into Jersey. We got Netflix coming into Jersey. We've got all these major studios that are coming in just, close by, the Philadelphia area. So that's pretty good for the industry. I'm assuming you'll probably be starting to work there once those open up.
Well, absolutely. I mean, they just opened one up in my hometown in Yonkers, Lionsgate Studios.
That's right.
I know they're filming a couple of actually, the Equalizers, for instance, we actually filmed that they turned in Meadowlands. The Eyes Out Center, it's been closed for a few years. They actually turned that into a studio, and that was where we filmed the Equalizer out of. They turned the whole place into like one big giant studio. Yeah, I mean, the more the better. I mean, I got a funny story. I remember, actually, it was when I was auditioning for Ray Donovan. When you audition, you become friends with a lot of actors. Hey, Joe, because you keep bumping into them. They may be auditioning for another role, another show, because these casting directors, they cast for several different shows. And, so I remember we were coming down, and actually the guy that, he actually auditioned, if you watch the scene, you'll see there's an older priest in it. He actually auditioned for that role. He didn't get it. And, we just got into some small talk, on the way down. I finished what I had to do. He finished what he had to do. And we're talking, and he's a little old. He's probably like 65, around that area. And he's like, you younger guys, he's like, you got it so easy now. And this goes back to what you were just saying about all these studios moving to New York. He's like, when I first started out, my early 20s, he's like, there was nothing in New York. He's like, it's either you did theater or you did soap opera work. He's like, but if you wanted to dedicate yourself to TV or film, he's like, you had to, up yourself and go to LA. He's like, that's it. He's like, I did the Love Boat out now. I was like, you did the Love Boat? He's like, damn right I did. And, he's like, but, now today there's so much. I mean, New York's got just as much as LA does. So it's one,
Well,
And,
it's
like,
true. And basically, like, as I said, it's coming into Jersey now. We have a whole bunch of stuff going on there. We got about a minute left. So what I want to do is get your websites, get your information, so that way people can watch you. And, of course, let's talk about the marvelous Miss Maisel, because basically that's coming to an end now. And I think they just did a few of your episodes. But talk about that, okay? And we'll leave it off at that.
Well, listen, I just got off a different show. I forgot the name of it. This is how it didn't air yet. I did something for HBO. I think it's called. I don't even remember.
I don't even remember that. That's a good title. I like that one.
That's what it's called. I can't even remember the name of it. But it's some teen romance thing. I played like a mover. This guy Lewis. Something.
Yeah. Do you get tied up in this one too?
Yeah.
I break the table and they tie me up in the basement.
Okay.
But,
Just found a picture of you on Google getting tied up by Ice-T, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then
Well,
the Equalizer episode.
Well, listen, Danny, we're running out of time. Do you have a website or anything like that?
I just IMDb is where I'm at. That's where
Sounds
you can
good.
find out all the information.
Well, thank you so much. Listen, Danny, it's been a pleasure. And on behalf of everybody here of Live on Tape, we thank you so much. And we'll talk to you again all next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.